Module 2, SUDI prevention messages. There are 17 different risk factors for SUDI. That is a lot of risk factors and a lot of messages for a family to try and remember. We're going to talk to you about what are the 4 key messages that you need to be giving to families to help get the best result. We're going to look at the evidence and the research around these messages, and what are some of the challenges or barriers that families experience when they try and implement these messages. So the P.E.P.E message covers all the information that a family needs to help prevent SUDI. The first part of the message is to place baby in their own baby bed in the same room as a caregiver. The second is eliminate smoking during pregnancy. Third, position baby on their back to sleep. And fourth, to encourage and to support mum to breastfeed. So the first message, placing baby in a baby bed to sleep. Now, if we look at where babies die, when we're talking about SUDI, 4% of these babies die in other areas. And if you look at the graph, 4% doesn't really mean much, it's just a number. But an example of a baby who died in another area was a baby who died in a washing basket. So mum went outside, put baby in the washing basket while she was taking off the washing, and unfortunately baby suffocated. So there could be a washing basket, it could be a car seat, it could be a number of places. So 4% of these babies die there. 14% die in baby beds, and I'll talk to you later on about what went wrong in these situations. The next group is sofas, and the last group, more than 60% of the babies who pass away of SUDI die in bed sharing situations with either one or more caregivers or siblings. So what are some of the baby bed options that are available to families? The first is a cot, and the cot's got a lot of good points. The first good point is that it's big, so it can be used for the whole first year of life. However, that good point is also a negative because it's so big, sometimes families can't fit it into the room, and it can be very expensive. The next option, and we at Whakawhetū highly recommend using this option, is the Whakawhetū. The Whakawhetū is a woven flax basket. It's a piece of te ao Māori, tikanga Māori, and it can be used in bed beside mum and dad. It can be woven by a family member, so baby has a safe sleeping environment, but can also be close to mum and dad in bed. Another alternative is the Pēpi pod. The Pēpi pod is a plastic version of the Whakawhetū, and it has all the same benefits of the Whakawhetū and can be used in bed with mum or dad. So, these babies that die in babies' beds, these 14% of babies, what went wrong? The first is we want babies to be room sharing with mum and dad, in the same room, but not the same bed. A lot of the time, these babies that pass away in cots is when nobody was around to look after them. So definitely having mum and dad close by but not in the same bed is a positive. The second is to be free from gaps when we're talking about mattresses. So sometimes the mattress doesn't fit the cot, baby can wriggle into the corner of the cot and suffocate in the corner. The third is using a firm mattress. So using a firm mattress is a prevention measure. Sometimes babies can suffocate on mattresses that are either too soft or such as a waterbed or a beanbag. Flat and level. You want baby to be on a flat and level surface. So babies on angles or beds on 45-degree angles does increase the risk of SUDI. Also, we want to try and keep the cot free of toys, free of pillows, free of excessive blankets. All these things are potential threats to baby, and baby can suffocate with them. The next thing is to put baby's feet at the bottom of the baby bed. This gives baby's head a bit of a gap so that if baby wriggles up, they don't get trapped in the corner. So, common barriers. What are some of the common barriers to people using baby beds? When you say to families, you know, the safest place to put a baby to sleep is their own baby bed, what are some of the barriers? We've found that one barrier is that baby beds are expensive, and the second is that baby beds, a lot of people think that bed sharing is no problem. You know, they've bed shared successfully with a lot of other children, and so they don't see it as a risk. So what's some of the evidence around these risks? Well, if we look at bed sharing by ethnicity, what you find is that there's a lot more Māori families bed sharing than non-Māori. About 27% of New Zealand and European families bed share, whereas for Māori it's a lot greater. It's about 65% or 2/3. It's the social norm. So, SUDI and bed sharing. What's the problem with bed sharing? Because a lot of babies share beds with mum and dad and they don't pass away. So what's different for these babies that do pass away? Well, a lot of it comes down to what risk factors are present with the baby. So with this graph from Professor Ed Mitchell, you can see that if you are smoke-free during pregnancy, if you exclusively breastfeed your baby, and then you bed share, your risk is quite low. It's 0.2 per 1,000 births, which is quite a low risk. However, if you smoke during pregnancy, if you feed your baby on formula, and if then you bed share, your risk goes up to 27 per 1,000. And they may also not seem like a big number, but if you think about it, the difference between 0.2 and 27 is about 100 times greater. So your risk just went up by 100 times because you smoked during pregnancy and because you mix feed or do partial breastfeeding. Now, however, if you smoke during pregnancy, if you feed your baby on formula, and you have some of these other risk factors that we talked about in the previous module, such as you are of Māori ethnicity, you're a young mother, you come from a high deprivation area, your risk significantly goes up when you bed share. The risk is well over 200. So definitely, we've got to be thinking about this. We've got to be thinking about how we can get messages to these families that have these risk factors to help them make it easier so that they can prevent bed sharing. So where can I get a baby bed? Cost is always a barrier. However, there are some options for families that can't afford baby beds. The first is contact Whakawhetū, who have a weaving database, and they can put you in touch with a weaver in your area that you could get to weave your wahakura. Another option is Pregnancy Help Inc. They're a nationwide organisation with branches all over the country, and they lend bassinets, porta cots, for the first few months of life. Another option is Change for Our Children. Change for Our Children are the providers of Pēpi pods, and a Pēpi pod is an awesome way of protecting baby. And the last option is through Work and Income New Zealand. Families can apply for a special needs grant or a recoverable assistance grant to get a cot or a bassinet.